Let me be real with you. My dating life used to be a hot mess. I ignored so many red flags. I was settling for less, and I kept attracting the wrong guys. But everything changed when I set these 12 dating rules. These 12 rules not only transformed the way I saw myself, but also led me straight to marrying my amazing husband of 8 years. And if you are tired of wondering why you're still single, or you keep getting in dead in relationships, or you're waiting on a man to act right and commit, and deep down you know that you deserve more, or maybe you're nowhere near dating, but you'd like to know what to do when you do start dating, well, keep watching because these 12 rules will change your life, and not only your life, your love life. Now I know dating in today's world can be exhausting from what I hear, but it doesn't have to be that way if you just stop settling and start dating with purpose. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. So let's get to it. So, starting with rule number one, the most important rule on this list is that you have to seek God first in your love life. Before anything else, you have to put God first and at the center of your dating life. And if you have already started dating and you didn't do this when you started, don't worry because you can do it at any given moment. You can do it now. That is exactly what I had to do, but I wish I would have done it first because it would have saved me so much wasted time and heartache. And to do this, you can simply just say a prayer for wisdom, discernment, and patience. You can ask God to lead you and guide your dating life and tell Him to block or close the door on anyone who was not sent by Him and make it plain and clear who the one is for you. And when you're done, you gotta listen when He tells you. When I fully surrendered my love life to God, I stopped entertaining distractions and I started recognizing what wasn't for me. Now, when it comes to finding love, we can sometimes get hoodwinked because of how someone portrays themselves to be, even though they're not who they say they are. But don't get frustrated over giving someone a chance and finding out that they're not the one. Sometimes this is a part of the process until you allow God to strengthen your discernment. But once you do, you will start to get rid of the wrong ones quicker or be able to recognize them from a mile away and you can stop them before it even gets to hello. Rule number two is have non negotiables and stick to them. A lot of women know what they want, but when the wrong guy shows up, we start making excuses. I had to learn that my non negotiables weren't suggestions, they were requirements that I had. And if a man didn't align with those requirements, I didn't try to force it. And trust me, that saved me a lot of unnecessary heartbreak as well. This also means that there has to be good, consistent communication with the person that you're engaging with in order to be able to convey your non-negotiables to them. So if you meet someone that is showing interest in you, but then you find it hard to get to know them because they're not initiating phone calls or responding to your texts or responding to your calls, then that may be a sign that you need to pay very close attention to. I once met this guy who showed interest in getting to know me. And after we exchanged contact information, we talked very briefly for like two or three times. And right after that, he asked me out on a date. But what I failed to find out before the day of the date was that he wanted me to pick him up for the date, pay because his car was in the shop and he was low on cash at the time because he was saving his money to pay for repairs on this car. That's a big fat negative. And I thought to myself, why are you even asking me out if you know that's your situation? But because I love transparency in hopes of helping someone not make the same mistakes I did, I do have to be honest. I did end up going to pick him up and I did pay for the date against my better judgment. And at the time, I chopped it up to me being an independent woman who had the means to do it. And I figured after he got his car repaired, he'd be picking me up and paying for days. But that was another big fat negative. I ended up getting myself into a situationship with this guy that lasted a whole year and it then ended in disaster. So, like I stated before, you have to have non negotiables and you have to stick to them. Rule number three is to date with a purpose. Listen, after I submitted my dating life to God, I stopped going on casual dates with men who had no real vision for a future. Because if a man couldn't clearly state his intentions with me, I moved on. And please don't be afraid to ask up front, why are you dating? Are you looking for something casual, looking to get married? And if he stutters through these questions or dodges the question or says something like, I'm just going with the flow, girl, run like hell. And this goes back to what I said earlier about communication. You don't have to be super deep when you first meet someone and asking them things like how much money do they make or do they have any childhood trauma that they need counseling for? But you definitely want to have some icebreaker questions and have meaningful conversations because the goal here is to save your valuable time and protect your heart. And if you need help with knowing exactly what to ask, you can download my free ebook that's full of questions. I always leave it in the description box below. Now, if you're not dating with purpose, then of course, all of this won't apply to you. Rule number four is watch his actions, not just his words. Now, this one is pretty simple. It just takes you paying some attention to things other than his looks and his bank account, girl. And this role is for the ones that do communicate well, but there is a huge difference between what he says and what he actually does. A man can say he loves God and that he wants a wife and that he's serious about you, but does he actually show up consistently where it matters to show you that he means what he said? I had to learn that a man's actions will always reveal his true character. You have to stop falling for words alone. And if I'm honest, this is what really sold me on my husband when we were dating. If he said he was going to call me back, he did. When he said he wanted to get to know me, he made sure we spent time together having meaningful conversations. And when he told me I was the one, he took me to meet his family, and he asked my mom and my dad for my hand in marriage, and he proposed 4 months later. And my husband was not some kind of corny, cheesy guy or Wall Street white collar guy. And I say this because sometimes we stereotype guys and we think they have to present in a certain way to get what we want. But I'm here to tell you that if my streetwise, raised in the Bronx, swagged out husband can rise to the occasion for a woman he knows is the one, then it's very possible for any man to do it. But it's our job as women to make sure we pay attention to more than just what is coming out of the mouth of a man. Rule number five is stop rushing the relationship. Once you do get into a relationship, you have to stop rushing the process. When you move too fast, you miss things like red flags. And if he is indeed the right one for you, he's not going anywhere unless you run him off. And rushing the relationship could be one of the things that just run a good man off. Also, the right man will be patient with you and he won't pressure you into things that you state that you are not quite ready for yet. So it goes both ways. Just be patient and enjoy the journey. When my husband proposed to me, I was shocked, not because I wasn't expecting it, but because for the first time in a relationship, I wasn't putting so much focus on being the woman I thought a man wanted me to be while eagerly waiting just to get a ring. My husband and I could have dated for another year and I would have been completely fine because we were just having so much fun, enjoying life together, and getting to know each other better. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean be slow to address your desires, your future plans, or your concerns. You should most definitely make that a part of your first few conversations to discuss serious things, like if you're looking for something serious or if you're looking for someone with a relationship with God. I know some people may say you'll run a man off, but like I stated previously, if emphasis on the if. He's the right one. This will not be an issue for him. Not to mention, it's better to get it out the way before you waste any more time than you have to. Rule number six is set physical boundaries and set them early. I have to be honest, this rule was really hard for me at first, but I had to get real with myself about my physical boundaries. Again, before I invited God into my dating life, I was sexually active. Not with random guys, but guys that became my boyfriend. And it was always my goal to be abstinent until marriage. But I let all logic go out the window when I started to get serious with a guy because I didn't have boundaries. And Because it wasn't something I made clear up front, it made it that much harder to stop once I started. Listen, if you desire to remain abstinent and practice purity, because those are two different things, you must say that up front. Now, whether you do it at hello or on the third date, that is up to you. Just don't put yourself in compromising positions where you are having to say it a few seconds into a passionate moment. And know that a man who respects you will respect your boundaries. If he tries to push past them, I'm sorry, he's just not the one. Rule number 7 is assess how he handles conflict. You want to pay attention to how he acts when he's frustrated. Does he communicate like a mature man, or does he shut down, lash out, or try to manipulate situations? If a man can't handle a disagreement with maturity, he won't do it in a marriage. So please don't overlook him cursing people out for simple mistakes, or having an attitude and not speaking to you for days on end because he didn't like something you said or did. This is definitely not a good sign to continue. Rule number 8 is observe his relationship with God and others. A man who truly loves God won't just talk about his faith, he'll live it. You need to watch how he treats people, especially those people who can't do anything for him. His character outside of you matters just as much as how he treats you. A big one for me was how a man treats his mother. I've been in a couple of relationships with guys that didn't have a good relationship or relationship at all with their mother, and they were some of the worst relationships that I was in. Not to say that men with mother problems aren't dateable, but I believe that they definitely need counseling before embarking on a relationship. Rule number 9 is don't settle for potential. I used to love making excuses for men that I dated, thinking that he's working on getting better, or he just needs time, or I can help him. But let me tell you, potential won't carry a relationship, and it definitely will not carry a marriage. Now, I'm not talking about things like he has the potential to make more money, but he can't because he's currently in school and getting his degree. Something like that is okay. If he's actively pursuing his potential, that is fine. I'm talking about the guy that won't get a job to make steady income because he's working on his talent to do this or that. If that's the case, tell him to get at you once he has a job or his talent becomes successful, because there is nothing wrong with helping someone in a relationship, but you can't be the one to carry them all the way there. They have to have their own solid foundation. And if not, let them grow on their own time, or you'll be carrying them. And that's definitely something you don't want to have to do in a marriage. Rule number 10 is pay attention to how he dates you. When I first met my husband, I loved that there was no confusion, no anxiety, no wondering what my place was in his life. During our second conversation on the phone, he started asking me what type of food I liked, what my favorite restaurants were, what were my hobbies. Also, he could plan a great first date. That was so refreshing to me because I was so used to the usual "what's up, beautiful" text messages, asking what I had going on for the day, knowing that they would only lead to "can I come over?" And the last thing you should be feeling when you meet someone of mutual interest is anxiety and confusion. So definitely pay attention to how he is trying to date you, or the lack thereof. Rule number 11, guard your heart until he proves himself. As women, we sometimes give too much too soon, and that could be emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. A man should be earning access to your heart through consistency, not just good vibes that you're feeling. And I know it's hard in the beginning because we get all infatuated with the new cutie, but one way you can do this is by planning to be good friends first. If you're not too consumed with getting that first kiss and deciding what freakum dress you want to wear on the next date, it will allow you to guard your heart until his actions actually prove his intentions with you. And finally, the long awaited rule number 12, be willing to walk away. The most powerful thing you can do as a woman is be willing to walk away. When you refuse to settle, you make room for God's best for you. If a man isn't showing up the way he should, let him go. The right one will never require you to lower your standards. Question, is he really the one, or have you even thinking about should you stay and continue to put up with things that don't give you peace? So instead of waiting for him to get his act together and make up his mind, you do it for him and remove yourself from something that no longer serves you. So if you apply these 12 rules, I can't promise you'll get the most perfect boyfriend or husband, but I can promise you that you will stop wasting your time on the wrong men and start moving towards the love God truly has for you. And if you want to go even deeper, make sure you don't forget to check out my free 50 question ebook to discover someone's relationship potential. I'll leave the link to download it in the description box. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you made it to the end of this video, leave a comment with the number one rule that you abide by when dating or that you will start abiding by. And I will see you in the next one. Stay blessed.